from Spiritual Strength. Like I said, all-star cast we had this day. We had a lot of great information. I mean, just a ton that we got. A lot of your favorite Catholic Instagram people. Let's make sure. Actually, I'm going to make sure that we get this thing recorded. But again, we're in Holy Week. Today is Spy Wednesday, the night that Judas plotted to betray Jesus. Tomorrow is Holy Thursday. Then we have Good Friday, Holy Saturday, Easter Sunday, and then we have the octave of Easter. Remember, because it's such a big holiday, it's such a big feast, it's an octave, 8 days. And that's nothing new. That's taken from biblical, the Israelite times. Their feasts were 8 days. So we're gearing up for Holy Week. If you can't get up for this week, I don't know what you can get up for. But we're pumped to be here. There he is, the confident Catholic, Philip Gabriel. Let's bring you on in, brother. If we connect. Yeah, it almost feels like the AOL day. Like loading. You keep seeing the dots, and then you see the running man, and you're like, on AOL. It's like, all right, we're on.
That's it. We're live. How's it going, Gene?
Good. How have you been?
You know what? Doing okay, all things considered,
Yeah, hanging in there?
Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy. Obviously, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about, all the other people out there. I know there's talks economically. People have been laid off. I mean, there's livelihoods ruined on the one side, and then people that have obviously lost their lives and gotten sick, in great numbers. And it's truly a tragic time. But for whatever it's worth, I mean, God has certainly blessed me. I've got a good job. I've been able to work from home and hold the fort here. So, I'm eternally grateful.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I keep looking down because my son's in the room here. We put him down, but he was crying. He didn't just take his nap. Say hello.
There he is. What's up, buddy?
Yeah.
What's going on, dude?
Say hello.
All right, you're breaking up a little bit there. You're breaking up a little bit there. How's your connection? Is your connection all right? You're on Wi-Fi or LTE?
Yes, I'm on Wi-Fi.
You're on Wi-Fi?
Still no good?
Okay. Am I coming in okay?
You're coming in great.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe. All right. So maybe Wi-Fi is okay. Yeah, you're right. It just pixelates you while it's skipping a few beats there, but we'll work through it. So how you been? How you holding the fort? What's going on?
Good. Staying busy because with my business, Winning Mindset, I do sports psychology with athletes on the phone for individuals and teams. And teams I do on the on Skype and Zoom. So for me, it's basically business as usual. I'm doing what I normally do. Mm-hmm. Been pretty darn busy, actually.
That's great. Oh, that's all. What kind of sports teams do you work with? I mean, what's
Yeah, I was a wrestler. So I originally started in the sport of wrestling, and eventually we started working with the U.S. Olympic teams. We work with national camp, state championship teams, and individuals all across the country. And then we branched it out to football, soccer, tennis, golf. Did you ever play any sports?
Yeah, well, I went to a very tiny private Catholic school, so no, was not very sports inclined there. And my father was certainly never the sports type of dad.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. He was more, up here in the brain. So we were never really pushed to join any sports or anything like that. Yeah, so no sports growing up, just, sometimes with friends and stuff like that, we do, pick up football games and soccer games and stuff like that. At our church, the priests were really big into soccer. It seems to be like traditional priests are obsessed with soccer for some reason. It's like their go-to. I think it's like the European connection or something. But so we'd always play soccer, and that was always a lot of fun too. So
awesome.
That's as good as I got. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I'll tell you what, actually playing the games with some of my favorite sports memories are not organized sports. It was playing pickup games with my friends in front of the house, by the school. Yeah, so I could totally relate to that.
Exactly.
So what got you deeper into faith? Did you always grow up deep in the Catholic faith, or what was it for you?
That is a fantastic question. So I'm sort of, you're fairly traditional, right? You're a traditional Catholic. I know I've met you at Holy Innocents.
I've gotten more traditional over time. Yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So you know Latin Mass and all that stuff. So I was born and bred in the Latin Mass. So I'm still a late 20 something, but baptized in the Latin rite, and it's basically all I've known,
Wow.
which is a great
Wow.
blessing, I'd say. So traditional Catholicism is all I've known. I've been to Novus Ordo masses, English masses, and things like that, you know, on various occasions and whatnot. But I was essentially born in it, so I had nothing but the best, you know, liturgy and things like that. That being said, like many people in the traditional, you know, kind of circles, a lot of times we were protected, let's say protected too much from the modern world, so that when it came time for, you know, coming out of college or coming out of high school, going into college, you know, I fell away. I'll be honest. I mean, I still had kind of my finger on the pulse. Yeah, exactly. The pulse of Catholicism, but practicing it, living in, you know, kind of a constant state of sin. You know, I stopped going into sacraments. There was many years, long periods of time where I was not. I basically had taken it for granted for so long, and then tossed most of it away, to be honest. And it's only in more recent years, through probably prayers of family and some incredible friends that have been with me through some crazy times, that yeah, now it is everything, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't like that we fell away for a little while.
Yeah, he's upset. Yeah, he's barking. He's like, don't do that. Don't be leaving. Yeah, I know. I'm upset too. I cried too. I sounded just like that. So yeah, I mean,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, you know, now it's been crazy. I would say that this last year, and I guess I've pretty much sort of been posts here and there, I'll blog about it. But you know, this last year has been really the most formative year, I'd say, of my entire life religiously. Strides have been made like none other. I mean, I would even like hazard to say that they were miraculous, just because of, you know, just my state of mind, and just clinging to things, you know, clinging to sin and things like that. And then just like that, you know, things changed, and I can, you know, yeah, there's some practical, pragmatic things that I can apply to it, but not enough that it really explains, like, you know, what happened for me. So all that's to say, you know, God's grace is great. You know, it's out there, it's amazing, and things can happen in a way that I never thought was possible. So
yeah. How do you think things picked up for you? What was it? Like you said, of course, it's God's grace. Was there anything you started doing differently or anything like that?
I would say, for the one, you know, on the one hand, the one very fortunate thing about me and my personality is I've always had a sincere love of truth. So I've always wanted to know what the truth is. You know, so there was a period of time where I was falling for this sort of, we'll call it the agnostic, atheistic argument that God doesn't exist, and because you can't empirically prove him, I was kind of falling, you know, for that to a certain extent, you know, so that sort of played in, you know, to a certain extent. But I'd also say too, so that, you know, search for truth was always there in Catholicism. As you and I both know, it is the truth. So eventually, if you can't put out that fire, eventually you're going to come back to it. But I'd also say too, I would say from the perspective of, we'll just say sin, just from the perspective of sin, I had gotten to a point, and maybe this will really apply to, you know, us men talking, when it comes to certain sins, you know, and attachment to them, like how to deal with them. I'll be honest, I got angry. I got mad, right? I got really, really mad. And I feel like that was a transformative part, because, you know, men have this, like, whatever, testosterone, we have this energy, we have this passion, that is meant to be used in a particular way. You know, and I know I know somebody that likes to reference, you know, the fact that Jesus flipped tables, right? And you know, there's nothing to that. You know, there's just anger. There's you know, there's a just reason to be upset. And so when it came to sin, you know, there's, you know, certain sins too, like even sins of purity and things like that, where, you know, even secular people that aren't necessarily religious don't like the way that it controls their life. They find it very upsetting. It's debilitating that their mind is always thinking, you know, of these things, and they just like, I want to go out for a walk. I want to go hang out with friends without being constantly berated. So for me, it was one of many I mean, there's maybe one day I'll go into this more and make some videos, because it'll probably be worthwhile. But I was furious. I was angry. You know, we spend so much time letting on the defensive with the devil. We're always playing defense. He comes in and and we're like, oh, please go away, please stop. And instead, I'm like, no, we're done. I'm done. That's it. You're out. And I got angry. So that's kind of a long way of saying that.
No, that's great. And you're right, because, it's like we realize after a while we're being controlled, that we don't have power over this. That especially when it comes to sins of the flesh, holy purity, we get to a point where it's like we're helpless. We realize we think at first it's like, oh, I'm doing whatever I want, I'm free. And then you get to a point you realize, no, I'm a slave. I'm actually an addict. I'm the reverse of a free man.
Exactly.
So I need to bring kind of change. I could tell you, for me too, that was a very difficult thing. And the Blessed Mother was instrumental with that for me, for blasting that, because I remember thinking, like, I don't know how this is going to end. Like, I don't know how I could get out of this on my own. Like, I can't do it. And then it's like the Blessed Mother helped just break things. And not that I still trust myself. You can never trust yourself. I find whenever I think, hey, I'm doing pretty well, boom, that's the day you're going to fall. So you never tell yourself you're doing well. Never pat yourself on the back.
No, not at all. And I'm so glad you brought up the Blessed Mother. So, so I guess that would be another, like, a second big thing, would be the Blessed Mother herself. So me getting angry, that's the one side. But then there's the Blessed Mother. I mean, I'm not ashamed to admit it. It's all over. I'm like a big salesman for the rosary. That's like the biggest thing that I push. Latin Mass and rosary are like the two things that I'm like pretty much pushing, I guess you could say, on my page. And the rosary is, I mean, it's unbelievable. And look, and for people like, oh, that's cute, he's just saying prayers work. Oh, great, whatever. I'm the guy that always said prayers don't work, right? So this is coming from the person that didn't believe in that thought, okay, yeah, go ahead and pray in a corner while the rest of us take care of business, But I've heard it said that you cannot keep attachment to serious sin and pray the rosary. You can't do the same. You can't keep them. You won't be able to keep up. One will have to give. And, all I can say is I've been praying the rosary for the last year, and there you go. What do you want? It's miraculous. I don't know.
Right. No, you're right. It's one of those things that you just have to, if I didn't go through it myself and experience that, I almost wouldn't believe it. I'd say, oh, that's nice. That's cute. With my psychology background, you almost look at it like, well, yeah, you made yourself feel better. You talk yourself into it, until you actually experience it for yourself. And you say, look, no, I was powerless. Something happened to me. I needed that grace.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's insane. It's unbelievable. But and I guess another thing too is to say that it's something you got to be serious about too. So a lot of times we're like, oh, Catholicism, God's great, but at a point you're going to have to really wrestle with it, right? Because I think a lot of times, a lot of us Catholics, we do just take it for granted. And while we say it's everything, it's all about, it's everything about life. Yeah, sure, it's our religion. God exists, but we don't live our lives that way. I mean, that's the thing. So if people complain like, oh, I'm attached to sin, I'm doing this, that, and the other thing, and I can't seem to, get free of it, and I just can't seem to I can't pray. That doesn't really work for me. It's, I have to challenge people, because I had to challenge myself, is that, are you actually taking it seriously? Because at the end of the day, if you believe what Jesus said, he's the way, the truth, and the life, this is it. The religion is everything. You need to be that crazy obsessed with it, absolutely insane for your religion, because if you're not, then you just aren't. Your actions don't say that you actually are taking this seriously, because this is everything. After this life, that's it. It'll be in the context of the religion that God created, that Christ created. How did you live your life in accordance with that? That's it. So
you nailed it. I know there's people who came to my friends who really started having a deeper relationship with Christ before I did, and I would wonder, like, well, how come they, like, every time you have a conversation, they always bring up God. They always somehow bring Jesus into it. Not that I minded, but, like, how does it come up all the time? And now I understand, because when you're in love, and when you really believe this, and when you know this is the truth, you've come to understand it, that's what you think about. That's what a person in love sounds like. You talk about your lover.
That's exactly right. And I bet you in those moments for you were so annoyed, right? It's the most irritating thing. It's like, oh gosh, why is it always like, okay, everything doesn't need to be about God. Okay, could you just relax a little bit,
Right. But he really is the hinge point. Like, it's once we take ourselves off the throne, right? I saw the image of the chair, and it's like, who's on the chair? The self, the person, or the Lord? And once Christ is on the chair of your life, everything, literally everything, revolves around him.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense. What are some resources that have helped you in terms of books or YouTube pages or podcasts where you said where you were thinking about overcoming the arguments from atheism, agnosticism, those kind of things? What helped you along your way?
Yeah. So books is a good one. So I'm just gonna go out and just gonna put this out there. I'm not very intelligent. And so I will just openly state that I don't like reading very much. My friends rag on me.
Fine.
I'm super lazy. So I love using media. So I'm an audiobook fiend and so one of my big things, and I had talked about this a little bit, over this past year, is the book that we all, and this is the book we all need to get on, sacred scripture. Okay. The Protestants are really great at this. They seem to have, at least the versions that they have, they're
Right.
ace at them. They're amazing. And Catholics are notorious for not knowing scripture. So I made that a big point. And I was able to hack, because I drive, for a living. I'm always on the road, up and down Jersey for work, or before this I was. And and so I'm always on the road. So I have all this road time. And so I was able to find a free audiobook of the New Testament, which was an amazing hack. So I got through the entire New Testament, and my mind was blown, because you see all the nuance of how Christ works with different people and all the different things from faith. I learned so much from not just getting the little snippets, which are great. You get the snippets in mass, even in a Latin mass, I follow along. And so I read, the various bits of scripture that are in there, but to get the full context of the Bible was amazing. I mean, it was very transformative, especially for me, because, as I said, I've struggled with faith, right? So I've struggled to believe in God, because, oh, well, if God wanted, he would just show us all, right? So a fantastic thing that I learned in the Bible was there's this small little snippet in the Bible, and this was killer for me, because I was like, why won't God show himself? Why won't he prove himself to me? Blah blah blah, right? Because you hear about all these miracles. Oh, he was doing miracles left and right. Why won't he do that for me? So what I would see is, we talk about the miracles, and guy's doing his audiobook thing. I'm driving along, and I'm like, yeah, he's doing his thing. Great. And then there would be a small little snippet, a small piece of scripture where he'd say, and then he went to this place, and they named the place, and it would say, and they had no faith there, and so he did no miracles and left. And that's it. And they breezed right past it. That's a small little snippet of scripture. And that blew my mind, because it made me realize that no, it's not about God showing himself and necessarily manifesting himself. It's because I don't have faith. It's because in my heart, I know it's true. We all know morality is true. We all know what goodness is, and God is goodness. And so when we hear goodness, we need to recognize it. And that's why he says, when you hear my word, when you hear the word of the Father, right? You can hear the word. Right. So that was big for me. That was profound. And of course, scripture is, it's our book. So there's so much more. But that was just an example of having a mind-blowing moment. So some other books, my favorite saint book. So I'm actually not a huge saint book person. The reason for that is not because they weren't great. It's because they're so not relatable. Like Saint Therese is just like, she just was in love with Christ, like since she was a fetus. And that's like, all right, well, sick, that I didn't go through that, but my favorite by far is Saint Augustine. He's my favorite saint of all time. And his confessions are, they're pretty much, it's the most moving work I think that's ever been written. I mean, even secular people just find it to be the most romantic. And I mean that not a silly sense. I mean that in a very genuine sense. This man was a sinner if there ever was one. I mean, a purity, forget that. He did it all pretty much, and he confesses it all. And meanwhile, shows a transformation of a passionate, because he was a passionate man, right? So he's like our Italian American, brothers and sisters, right? He was full of fire, and so he transferred that love, that passion which he was putting towards sexual acts and stuff, and he transferred it into a passionate love of Christ. So if for anyone that hasn't read it, it's absolutely one of the best just works. It's incredibly moving. From YouTube, let's see. I'm a huge fan of Matt Fradd. Matt Fradd does incredible work on so many different fronts. His podcast, Pints with Aquinas. I love the guests he has on. I love the guy. He's so genuine. He says it like it is. He doesn't hide anything. He doesn't pretend to be anybody. You know, if he thinks he's making a fault, he'll say it. I think he's hard on himself too many times because he's doing great work. So I've just been a humongous fan of his work. So that's an example of that.
Awesome. Oh, that's great. As you said, you grew up in the traditional Latin Mass community. How do we get more people to love and appreciate tradition? Because like the way I relate it with sports, okay, like what I've been trying to tell people is like, you know, focus on, in sports, you got to focus on the basics. If we talk about exercise, you got to work your core. Like, don't think about all the flashy muscles. Get a good, solid foundation of main exercises. So I think a lot of times with the faith too, maybe we have to get back to more like pre-1958, more traditional Catholicism, like understand the roots of the faith before you start getting into all this other stuff.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
So yes, first of all, yes, I agree. So foundation is everything. As far as, you know, how do we get people involved? I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. For me, I don't really say too much. I show. And the reason for that is because when this is just my experience. When people see the Latin Mass, they fall in love with it. They're like, this is gorgeous. Like, I have no idea what he's saying, but this is beautiful. This is beautiful. I'm sorry. Like, you know, you'll see that. Sometimes I'll post a little snippet and I don't do it justice at all, but, you know, I do what I can with a phone. You know, this music is just, it's sublime. It takes skyrockets your brain right to heaven without, you know, in a heartbeat. So I think the biggest thing, and I'm not saying there's not more that can be done and more to promote, and I'm always thinking about ways that we can do that. But really just showing, because the honest truth is this: most people don't even know the Latin Mass exists. I mean, that is what happened. Without going into a whole deep dive conversation in the Vatican II and the Mass, people of my generation never saw it. Right, so they were the ordinary form of the Mass, the English Mass, is all there was as far as they were concerned. They had no idea another existed. And again, I'm weird like that. I'm really bizarre to have been raised. It was just a condition of my father finding it just before I was born. So yeah, so I think the big thing is really just showing, just spread the love. You know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I started getting into it. So I like my reversion about 5 years ago now at this point, after doing the consecration of Jesus through Mary. And I went to a Latin Mass, Institute of Christ the King, what was St. Anthony's in South Orange, New Jersey. Went
Orange.
there.
Yeah, I've been there. I go there all the time.
Nice.
Well, next time you're there, you let me know. Well, when we're done with this, but with this quarantine. But
yeah, well, please God, soon, right?
Yes.
But went over there, and then now, like more recently, I've been going to more and more. You know, I'm a big Father Chad Ripperger fan, so I just ripped through all of his videos on Sensus Fidelium, bought pretty much all of his, and just like devouring it. And because like the way he spoke about the faith, it just made so much sense. And I never heard, like, I guess like a Thomistic, like the way the scholastics teach, the way there was like Aquinas. I just never got that kind of an education. So when I heard that, it was just a ringing truth in my ears. And I said, wow, and he's really big on the Latin Mass. So like how God ropes in people in different ways. Like it's the beauty, it's the truth, it's the good, it's all the transcendentals. So yeah, then I said, well, why is he all about the Latin Mass? And I started learning about it, and I'm like, man, this is great.
Sure.
And I got to confess that one of the ways that I kind of like do this with most of the masses I go to, just because around here they're Novus Ordo, but one of the ways that I try to bring priests into tradition, I have old rite blessings, you know, for candles, olive oil, water, and salt. Priests can put exorcism on it. That's one of the things I learned from Father Ripperger.
Yes.
So I printed it out, and my mnemonic device is COWS, COWS, candles, olive oil, water, and salt. So I have it printed out. I have it on my phone, and I'm the nut job that brings it to the priest after Mass. And I said, hi, Father, can you exorcise my candles, please? He said, you want me to what? Can you exorcise?
You good?
And at first sometimes they might give like a little bit of a reaction, because it's like, you know, it's going to be more work on them. But then after they say those prayers and they realize, and I think as a man, they're kicking the crap out of the devil. They're like, yeah, this is cool. And after the priests have asked me to share the blessings with them, they said, wow, they really took spiritual warfare serious in the old rite. And so like, it's kind of like a way to kind of even help bring some of the priests into it.
Yeah. No, it's crazy, right? Because, and this is one of the and the devil must be so happy about this, but it's one of the dangers of, what tempted me, right? Sort of the atheistic agnostic, right? That the spiritual realm doesn't exist. And yet there's been this obsessive obsession with spirituality itself.
Right.
It's bizarre. We're atheists, but we're obsessed with spirituality. So it's basically become a playground for the devil, because now we've totally booted God out. He doesn't exist, right? But the devil exists in a way, in a weird way. So that's why you get people that are like apparently, publicly militantly atheists, but yet they seem to have demonic sort of like obsessions, and they get involved in these weird sort of cultish things.
Right.
So like in the old days, people said, oh, they used to believe in demons, and then they would just, it was just everything was witchcraft and this. And I'm not going to say that, I can't go into the past, we'll never get the real truth about that. But, some of it's probably hyperbole, some of it's exaggerated. But at the end of the day, the demonic realm exists. It's out there.
Right.
And he's, as the St. Michael prayer says, he's prowling about the world seeking the ruin of souls. And he ain't stopping for anything, and he's never losing energy. And that's not to say, because I got in it was a good sort of debate with a friend of mine a while ago. We were hanging out, having some drinks at a buddy's place, and he was kind of upset with the notion that a lot of people will blame it on the devil, right? They'll be like, the devil made me do it, and he was upset at that. He's like, he was pushing back on just the nature of temptation itself, and I totally understood what he was saying. But we talked it out and everything, and at least my stance on it is not so much that we can never blame the devil on anything. We are guilty of any sin that we commit. We're not guilty of temptation, though. The fact that we're tempted has no bearing on whether we're good or bad. That's not a metric for that. Christ was tempted 3 times, and he intentionally allowed himself to be, for an example to us. But that's not to say that Satan doesn't take advantage of weakness. So, we've talked, we were kind of talking about some sins earlier, or attraction to sin and stuff like that. If you're not putting up the fight, and maybe you are, whatever, maybe it's an addiction or something like that, he can really, tap into that, take advantage, find your weak spots, really try to expose them. And hopefully, because it's all about, so this is, we'll talk about that strength, right? You're all about the strength, and this is awesome. Building strength, you have to build virtue, because he's going to fight you. He's going to box you. Are you prepared to go up to fight him? If you haven't been practicing virtue, the honest truth is you probably will end up falling for the sin. And so that's the thing. So just to your point, to just loop back to what you said just about exorcisms and stuff. Yes, the demonic realm is there. It's important that we know it's there. Not so much that we can just go, he did it. He made, oh gosh, go to judgment. God, the devil made me do all that. Please don't be mad. It's to say, no, we're up against a fight. So let's start spiritually bodybuilding here. Let's start building up virtue.
Yeah. I literally just wrote a book on that, on spiritual strength, and saying that, hey, we're all athletes for Christ, all of us. Whether or not you ever played a sport, like St. Paul says, we're not shadow boxing, right? We run the race to win the prize. We wrestle not against flesh and blood. We got to know that we're actually in that battle. The devil is real. Demons are real. They hate your guts. They're trying to destroy our lives. They're trying to destroy our family. But like you said, there's 3 enemies, right? The world, the flesh, and the devil. And if we don't even realize we're in that battle, how are we going to win that? And I have like a whole section on my book about the virtues and the vices, a lot of which I got from Father Ripperger, admittedly, but talking about how building up, like how an athlete, if you look at like baseball cards, they have stats on the back, right? Well, what are our stats? Our stats are our virtues and our vices.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And like Father Ripperger says, the devil has a policy: anything but God. Anything but God. If he could get you attached or hooked to anything, he's got you. So it's like, you get the dog to bite on that rag. As soon as the dog bites on the rag, you could drag the dog all over the house. And that's what the devil will do with us.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because you said those 3 things, but what does the world teach us? What is the current narrative, right? The world is a goddess, right? So we worship Mother Earth. The flesh you've got to give into everything. Every urge you have, you must give into it. And then God doesn't exist. So you basically have those, they're all knocked out. So the demonic doesn't exist as well. So all 3 of those,
right?
They've denied them all. They've said the opposite. So we are really up against a fight against all 3, not even just one. And we can say maybe the Middle Ages or the bright spots of Christianity, they were against one or the other because at least they believed in God. But
right
now it's
we're fighting. Yeah, it's oh, none of those exist. Like, I mean, you really nailed it there. That's right. You don't even realize you're in a battle. How are you going to win? It'd be a lot easier if you knew that. But people are saying yes. It's like, no, God doesn't exist. The world is do whatever feels good, right? All immanentism, all about just being led by your feelings.
Yeah,
and it just into slavery, not freedom.
that's exactly right. The more you give in, the worse it gets. That there is no freedom in that. The freedom is to be, free from the sin itself. The ability to have that, be able to just, the temptation comes and you just punch it in the face and it's like, God, a second. That's the state that you want to be at. I just remember times like you and I mean, I didn't ask you though. So I'm from Jersey, right near New York City. Are you in New York City?
I'm in New York City.
Okay,
right over to George Washington. Yep.
Right by so you live in Manhattan or in Jersey?
181st and Riverside. Yep.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Yeah. So you know how it is. I mean, it's basically the liberal hotspot of the world. And for that, it's, from purity and everything in between, it's hard to go through the city. And it was like the world at your fingertips. Right. And there was a time in my life I couldn't, it was too much. It was overwhelming. But, before all this, obviously, my friends and I would always be in New York City. And now, thank God, and I don't mean this to sound like, oh, I've conquered it, I've crushed it. I just know God has worked up. I've built up some, we'll just say some virtue. And now those things are, they hit you and then they're gone. You can bounce them off. And that's, wow. Like, what a powerful feeling. People don't realize you can get to that state where you can bounce things off and all that. That's strength, right? That's endurance. And that's a good thing. So.
Absolutely. Thankfully, when I came to New York, because I'm a Jersey guy originally myself, I'm from Edison.
Oh, Edison.
So,
there you go.
Yeah,
Central
but,
Jersey.
What's that?
Central Jersey. Good.
Central Jersey. It's funny when I say Central Jersey, the people who are like exit 100, they're like, no, that's Central Jersey. They're like, I'm from North Jersey.
Yeah.
I always say Central Jersey.
The whole Garden State Parkway thing. Yeah. All the exits and all that.
But I actually, the reason why I started coming to New York more frequently was because of Catholic Underground. And I never heard about anything like that. But as I got deeper in the thing, people were saying, oh, you should check out Catholic Underground. So I started going there, really enjoyed it. And so about 2 years into my reversion, in an Italian household, you don't have to look for advice. Advice finds you. So my mom told me, she said, Now that you're deeper in the faith, you're probably going to have to start looking at different places to meet a wife. Because I, usually meet like a girlfriend at the gym or something like that. So
yeah,
probably go,
not anymore.
Yes. No. You should probably go on a dating site. So I was like, no, I don't need that stuff and everything. And then I thought for a moment, I was like, I've done funnier things than this to try to get a girlfriend. So I went on Catholic Match.
Okay.
And because I started going into New York City for Catholic Underground, I expanded my search to Manhattan. Normally, I would have never searched Manhattan, but I thought, like, if I met someone I liked in the city, going to mass or going like NYU, the Thomistic Institute puts on a lot of things over there. Like, if I met her, I would not be with her because she's in New York City. So I expanded my search, and that's how I met my wife within 3 months of being on Catholic Match.
Of course. So you met her on Catholic Match?
Yeah, within 3 months, and then we got engaged 5 months later.
Good for you. All right. So for all of you out there that are wondering, give it a shot. I've tried it. It's tough. It's tough out there. So,
it's not for everyone, of course.
Nah.
Some people don't. It all comes down to God's will.
Yeah, and it just you got to put yourself out there though. At least in different respects, wherever it is, you can meet people in all sorts of places you never thought. So, gotta keep your eyes open, and of course keep with prayer as well. Make sure you're discerning it as well. Clearly, it sounds like you just knew. You're like, gotta find a wife. We're gonna get on with that. Oh, here we go.
Yeah. The surrender for me, the surrender was big. As an athlete, it was always trying to force, make things happen. Even with my business, it's like you got to make it happen. So with relationships, it was always trying to force. And I think the big thing that the Lord needed to see for me is to surrender and say, your will be done. And I did not do that until the reversion of my life. And I think that, to me, that's what was a big thing. I think the Lord wanted me to let go of the reins. So, but you do whatever God wants. Like whatever God's will is for you, that's what's going to make you happy. If you end up in a state of life that the Lord didn't will for you, that would be an egregious sin. we don't want to try to force our way, right? So.
Sure. Yeah. Well, discernment is a big thing. It's, people have to go through it. I know he probably won't like me talking about him, but my younger brother is a priest, right? So he's a traditional priest, and he was funny because like he went right out of high school. He's like, basically he was like born out of the womb a priest. He just like, it was clearly his vocation, and that's great. God just knew, but he was a serious person. He was just like, had a very serious, a stoic personality, and he just went right out of high school, just bullet trained right for the priesthood. He was one of the youngest traditionally, because it takes like 7 years for traditional priests. So yeah, I mean, I guess the discernment was easy for him, but yeah, for all of us, it's something that you have to actually do. You have to make sure that it is God's will for you. Because, I was discussing with this person recently is, we're all, sexual creatures, right? So we're all going to want that, wanting to be in union with another person. Physically, that's not an indication necessarily of a calling to marriage. That's just means you're a human being. And that's about it. So it's important to discern that, are you called to a local fatherhood as opposed to a spiritual fatherhood of many, and there's just, it's different. And you'll know that God will pull you. He'll pull you in that direction, because I've seen, and that didn't happen for me. So I know that I wasn't called to the priesthood, right? He didn't, I love the priesthood. I just love what they're doing. I'm so emotional at every ordination I go to and all that, but I was never pulled at it. It was like, no, I want to be a family. I want children. I want to raise them like a good father. That is my hope and dream. If God has yet to see that through, but that's what I'm working on. And I pray, continuously pray through it. If you don't want this, show me the other way, please. You have to have an open heart. So
that's absolutely right. We got to link your brother up with my brother. He was supposed to be ordained a deacon in May, but now it's getting pushed off because of the whole coronavirus. But he's a 50-year seminarian, and we got to get him to start saying the Latin Mass.
Yeah. What diocese is he a part of?
Metuchen, New Jersey.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to see. My brother's out in Texas now, so he's far away.
All right.
he's far away.
Yeah. He's your younger brother?
Yes, although many confuse him as the older one, because he is much more mature than I. I'm the goofball, so I'm the one that usually embarrasses him. I go there. Come on, somebody's got to be comedic. He takes himself too seriously. I gotta come in and have some fun. So that's my job.
That's a familiar story. Same thing with our house. Same thing with our family.
Yeah.
That's great stuff. Oh, great stuff, brother. So, Holy Week, I guess good thing to end it with. What are you going to be doing for Holy Week? Any special devotions you normally do? What might be some good tips for other people? What we could be doing?
Yeah. So one thing I got to say off the bat is, obviously, just because I have a page, I am by no means a Catholic expert. So I want to, go out there saying that, because, we're in unfamiliar territory. This is uncharted for many of us. It's been what, 3 Sunday masses I've missed at this point, I think. Yeah, 3. I think I haven't been to, and that's just never happened. That's never, even when I wasn't really practicing my faith, I would still touch in on Sunday masses. I would just still go, because it was just the habitual thing. It was just the one thing I didn't let go of, and maybe that was a grace in its own. But so this is really the first time in my life that something like this has happened. So the Triduum, all that, what am I doing? Well, I'm certainly not going to one. That's for sure. And that's a tragedy all in its own for me, because now I appreciate the liturgy more than I ever have. I've fallen in love with it in a much bigger way. And the Triduum it's the best. It's the best, especially Latin Mass. It's the best we got. It is nothing, all full stop, all the bells and whistles, everything's brought out. It's the most epic. From Holy Thursday to Good Friday to the Easter Vigil, it is the most epic stuff that you can possibly see. So to that point, media is still out there, which is a strange blessing. It's an ironic blessing, because media has been the cause of so much pain and suffering and sin for us. But at the same time, it's now the way to connect. For those that are interested in Latin Mass stuff, the Fraternity of St. Peter, my brother's order, is they have livemass.net. So they've been doing Sunday streams. And so I've been doing that for the past few Sundays for Mass. And they're also doing the Triduum. So various churches, they have their equipment all hooked up there. So I will be doing that definitely for Good Friday. And then, of course, for Easter as well. And I may for Thursday, Holy Thursday. We'll see about that as well. So for me, it's been helpful to at least see it because I'm audibly, hearing the words. I'm seeing the actual stuff that I remember and recognize. It'll keep me grounded during this time because I certainly don't want to just, sit at home and just have nothing happen because then I won't be aware of the season that we're in.
Right. If you can, drop a link to your brother's mass at some point, maybe after the show, so people could see it. If anyone wants to check that out.
Yeah, I wish his was one of them. Sadly, because then of course I'd watch him. Biased as I am, but no, I don't. His isn't streaming, so the fraternity can only afford. It costs a lot apparently to do the streaming. So there's a few parishes. So when you go to livemass.net, so for those that want it, livemass.net. If you go there, like if you go right now, on the page it'll have it'll preload a player to play a video, but it probably won't have anything because nothing's on right now. But somewhere in there, I think lower right, it'll say a schedule. So click the schedule. It'll have the schedule for the next few days. It'll say Monday or Thursday this, and there's churches. So there's one in England, Warrington, England. So one of the fraternity parishes there is doing various of the masses and services. And then California and Sarasota, Florida, and there's a few others there. So just whatever works for you, just find a mass that works, and or Good Friday service, if it's Good Friday, and tune in there. I know I certainly will be because I think I'll go crazy if I don't at least see, and hear some of to hear the Passion read, or sung in Latin. That's such a powerful thing in its own. Hearing the Passion sung, that's it. It's the core right there. So
yeah, I've never experienced the Tridentine Holy Week, so this is going to be my first. It's going to have to be virtual.
Okay.
But I've never experienced Holy Thursday, Good Friday, Easter Sunday. Yeah.
It'll make you thirsty. You'll be thirsty for next year. You'll be dying. You'll be ready to go. It really is one of the best. And because spoiler alert on. So the Easter Vigil, when they do a solemn high mass, it's so cool because everything's dark. It's in complete darkness. And then I believe at the Sanctus, the Holy, 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 right? It goes from complete darkness. They're all wearing black or violet. I think it's still violet for Lent, right? So it's all dark. It's all solemn. And then when the Sanctus hits, just before then, just about then, I gotta brush up. My brother would kill me if I'm getting this right. But at that point, I believe it's the Sanctus or the Gloria. That was it. It's the Gloria. Got it. I recovered. It's the Gloria. So the Gloria is sung for the first time since Lent begins. They switch to gold vestments just before it, and then all the lights get turned on and bells get rung through the whole Gloria. The whole church explodes. It's super awesome, a very moving experience, and it's like Lent's over, God's risen. Here we go. So I'm telling you, it's the best the liturgy has to offer.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it as a family. Me, this little guy here. Thank you for being patient with this little guy. He's getting ready to talk. Obviously,
that's right.
I keep glancing over because I don't want him to put his head in his mouth.
That's it. He's good. He's good. He's just upset that I wasn't practicing the faith for a while. He's still shaking his head. He's like,
me too. He's
the two of us. He's like, Dad, come on. Why would you do that? Don't do that.
Great stuff. Yeah, happy to do this anytime. It's just great for fellowship. It edifies one another, helps other people. Like you said, we need positivity and we need one another during this time, and it just helps. It gives hope for everyone.
Yeah.
So
we'll see this through. We'll get out of it. It's a really dark time. It's a penitential time if there ever was one. People are dying. It's we can't gloss over that. But let's not waste. At least spiritually,
right.
We're forced into this corner. So take advantage of this time. This is a time for real reflection. Like, what did we have? All that we've been given. Let's not take that for granted anymore. Now let's get back. Let's be, like you said, you're going to be dying to go to a Triduum again. You're going to be so excited. Your heart's going to be busting open. And your family will love it. It's, so that's the thing. You just gotta appreciate gratitude. We've been given so much, and now's the time to remember that.
Right. And offering up that suffering, right? We have a perfect opportunity. Don't waste your suffering.
Yes.
Offer it up. Give it to the Lord. Unite it with his passion, especially now.
Yes.
If we can't get into it now, when can we get into it, right? So
that's exactly right. He gave suffering meaning. I know the world has taught us that suffering is just evil and you need to extinguish it at any cost. Not necessarily. No, it is the opportunity. His passion did it all. So don't waste it.
Christ has transformed it. Christ has transformed it. Great stuff, brother. Thanks for being on. We'll talk again.
Yeah.
All right. God bless.
God bless,
Family.
Gene. Thanks a lot. Yeah, stay safe.
Take care. You too. We'll see you.
God bless. Bye.
Bye.